time for this religious festival that happened every year to happen in Jerusalem. So Israelites that lived all over the known world came back to Jerusalem to celebrate this religious festival. A bunch of Jesus followers, they were all together in this room there in Jerusalem, when all of a sudden this noise like a huge wind came blowing through the room, and God's Spirit came to be with them. And they started talking about God in these languages that they'd never learned or studied, because God's Spirit had given them the special ability to do so. Well, all this created quite a commotion, so people came to see what was going on. And among the people that came to see what was going on were some of these Israelites that had come from all over the known world. And they were just blown away to hear these men who had just grown up in small towns and who didn't have much education talking about God in the visitors' own languages. They could hardly believe it. But some people were not so impressed. And they're like, they're just drunk. But then this guy, Peter, one of Jesus' followers, stands up and says, listen, these men are not drunk. It's only 9 a.m. Something incredible has happened here today. God's Spirit has come to be with us. 1,000 years ago, God promised King David that one of his descendants would always be king. Well, today is that day, and Jesus, the one you executed, God has raised him from the dead, and he is the promised king. So lots of the people were just overwhelmed, and they said, well, what should we do? And Peter said, you need to admit that you failed God, and then turn and start following Jesus. And like 3,000 people believed what Peter said and started following Jesus that day. So they became part of the community of people that believed in Jesus. And this was a wonderful community. They loved each other. They took care of each other, and it was growing. Every day, more and more people were deciding to follow Jesus.